This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And a reminder, tonight's NLCS game, Braves-Dodgers, 6:05 tonight. Time now for Money Info, Great Wize Oz time, with the one and only Charles Moskowitz. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Doing fine. How are you?
Little groggy, but I fell asleep. How about last night's football game?
Did they have a football game last night? I was watching the baseball game.
Well, there were a lot of upsets this weekend.
Yeah,
none bigger than Mike's Las Vegas team.
Oh man, yeah, that was amazing. But
I mean, they were basically never in it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, that was incredible. And what about last night's football game? Leave it to New Orleans to win a game by a football length.
Yeah, exactly.
My goodness.
I was really surprised there.
I was kidding. We carry Sports USA has the NFL games that, when we're not on the air with either the Dolphins or the Bucks. And so I called back to Chicago. They've got a whole bunch of rescheduled games. And I said, so how are things going so far this year? And he said, we even had our crew at a game that was canceled. So yeah, it's been a crazy.
Yeah, our
crazy
game was supposed to be last night too, and they canceled it again.
Right. Yeah. It's and by the way, FYI, the Thursday night football game, Kansas City Buffalo, is a niet. So yeah. Oh well.
I'm amazed. It's funny. Somebody used the age-old expression talking about one of the upsets, and their comment was, "That's why we play the game."
Exactly. And can anybody teach Tom Brady to count to 4?
Yeah, and maybe teach him some sportsmanship.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he left us. He gets, we give him no quarter up here.
Oh, yeah, but I was shocked that he didn't know the down. I mean, yeah. I really was.
The last night's game I thought was terrific. I mean, you got a rookie quarterback having to step in, and what did he throw? 3 touchdowns?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That kid is amazing. I mean, everybody was talking about Tua, who's here with Miami, and he'll get his shot. And what's really good is Fitzpatrick is almost like a father to him. Yeah. You could say they're always together on the sidelines. They're always going over the plays together, and it's just like, okay, go ahead in, son. It's your time.
Yeah, right.
It's really
Put
kind
me
of cool.
in, coach.
Yeah, no, really. It's like Fitzpatrick is almost a coach of that kid.
So what's going on with the baseball stuff?
Well, the Tampa Bay Rays looking awfully tough. Beat the Astros again yesterday. Of course, they beat the Yankees last week. And and boy, the Braves last night. It was bombs away in the 9th inning. Beat the Dodgers. Yeah. And what's neat though? Baseball. Hats off to baseball in the bubble. What they managed to do is that they brought the families in. So. Freeman hit a home run in the first inning, and his wife and little boy were right there in the first row screaming and yelling, and it was great, and he's waving to him and stuff.
It's good to have some limited coverage of sports. I just, it's really tough to get behind any of this stuff with 3-game series and,
Well, I like it. I'll be honest with you. I think your Your pitching is at the forefront. It's very interesting. It goes by in a hurry. And again, if you can somehow corral the COVID in some way, shape, or form, like the NBA, hats off to the NBA and the NHL with no cases of COVID in the bubble.
It's actually, it kind of paints a slightly different picture. The basketball especially paints definitely a different picture of the players who, everybody for a couple of years was calling them, whiny millionaires. But that was actually a fair amount to give up to go into Orlando and to be there that entire time. I mean, that's kind of a nice testament to them.
Yeah, well, one of them was saying it's like slavery. Hardly. You're in a five-star resort with Michelin chefs, and it was very interesting. They did a survey of wine consumption of the NBA players. The average bottle of wine was $250 a pop.
Yeah.
I know I couldn't afford that.
So that means it was probably a $40 or $50 bottle of wine at your local liquor store.
Yeah, Disney upped the price, right?
But I'll tell you, I stayed the last time that we were at Disney was with our one of our granddaughters, and we stayed in that big white building there. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, very pleasant.
Well, and it's going to be very interesting because the whole social situation that occurred in the NBA, I don't know whether you heard the commissioner this past week, but that's not going to be around next year. It's that's fine. They did their thing, but the arenas are going back to the arenas and nothing else. So
yeah, it's really eerie looking. I mean, last night's game, when they the teams came out on the field, I mean, it's such a nice and gigantic stadium, and completely unused.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
amazing.
I see we have Joe here.
Joe has joined us. Good morning, sir.
How are you? How are you guys? Nice to be with you guys again.
Welcome to Sports Talk.
Yeah, really.
So how are you?
Well, Joe has some great information for us because Generex has had some terrific news of late, and it's really company-changing news. So why don't you tell everyone what's going on in Malaysia, Joe?
Oh, well, yes, since the last time I was on, we've made some significant headway in getting our first licensing deal done for our COVID vaccine. We got our upfront monies where now we can complete all of our analysis, all of our blood work, as well as our assays for off targets. And we'll know very, very soon whether we have a safe, effective vaccine that is, safe for a start of human trials. So it's pretty exciting stuff, and we can't wait to get into the clinic.
So you didn't give
for a company your size, I mean, that's a monstrous deal.
Yeah, potentially, if the vaccine works, it's well over potentially $1 billion in revenue for the company once we get through the clinic.
Yeah, that's just phenomenal.
So you could have taken some up to the White House and given it to President Trump, Give it a shot there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have many other opportunities that we're working on. Some further along than others, but we believe that now that we got the first one under the belt, signed, sealed, and delivered, we believe that the next few will be signed in relatively short order, and it just goes to the credibility for what we've been working on all these years without vaccine work in infectious disease.
Yeah, I think that people don't quite understand that, you guys are not a one-trick pony, that in fact you're more of a conglomerate, with all of the different areas that, you're working on. It makes for a very interesting company to be able to, be on so many different levels with the medical stuff that you're doing. I mean, I find it really amazing, and it's a lot of the small companies and a lot of them that have get taken over. I've discussed this before for a couple of years actually, that small companies like this that go towards something that someone else is interested in, and as soon as they get some results, some positive results on what they're working on, there's no hiding it from the big guys. And if there's a big guy who's interested in the same area as you're working, as soon as you become successful at it, they come in and they scoop them up. I mean, it's between tax laws and the amount of money that has to be used on research and development, and focus. So as soon as the littler companies are successful, the big guys come in. I mean, you see them every single day. Almost every day you see a little biotech or drug company, being successful, and you see it come in and somebody pays 80% premium over the stock to own the company, because in fact what they're doing is they're buying all that research and development, they're buying all of the trials and tribulations that you've gone through over a period of years, and they're coming in and scooping them up. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. When I think about Generex and New Generex, I think about what these things could be in multiples of dollars, as opposed to 26 cents. I would just almost hate to see, as nice as it would be, I would hate to see all of the company's work disappear for $1 or $1.25, when as things continue to move ahead, it could be really dramatic. So, but I guess 500% is dramatic.
Yeah, well, we're set up. We're a medical pharmaceutical holdings company, so we're set up just like any other large pharmaceutical company, where you got 10 guys that run the company, that are responsible for getting those filings done, because we are public. But more importantly, with all the acquisitions we made over the last couple of years, we really set it up where each of the acquisitions now have great management teams. They run those businesses. They're responsible for their P&Ls, and they walk, let's call it upstairs, to the guys that are running the holding company, and we do the filings and do the necessary work to make it a going concern from an enterprise perspective. But first and foremost, every one of our companies has great management teams, great product, great science, great opportunities of getting commercialized or getting through the clinic, as well as take a look at our Ola region. We have 17 approved FDA pathways for that product in wounds, hard to close wounds, as well as surgery, Mars surgery. So we have FDA approved products. We have great products that are going through the clinic now that have great opportunity in cancer, as well as infectious disease, which our entry with COVID. It's an enterprise that right now we're establishing in Arizona with our clinics and our partners there, where we can move our own products, our own services through those clinics, making it highly beneficial for the doctor groups we're partnered with as well as the patients.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I think it's a great story, and it's an especially great story for a company that only has 21 million market cap. I mean, you see deals in this industry, for hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and as I said, that's how these little companies disappear.
Well, it's funny. Market caps are deceiving when you're on the OTC. Generex was a national NASDAQ markets company for many years. We got delisted. We took over in 2017, turned the company around, cleaned everything up, cleaned up the cap table. So, for our first 3 years, we had hundreds of millions of dollars in market cap. But, you have to pay for what you buy. And we paid for that. A lot of the stuff we bought with stock. And stock has taken significant hits, but doesn't mean the value of all the entities or the products or the services that we've acquired doesn't have exponential value. It's just not reflected right now in the stock because of all the selling with all the different entities that we acquired these businesses from, whether it was investment, whether it was partner groups, VC firm that own percentage of these companies that we acquired with stock. They sold us all the way down. But, listen, like anything, things go back around. And once that heavy pressure is off, we believe, based upon all the different things that we have, whether they're approved products by FDA, whether we're getting approval by FDA, or building out our network in Arizona, which is our first state for our enterprise. We believe it'll be reflected in the stock eventually, hopefully sooner than later. But we will get the value. It will be reflected in the stock.
And there's a difference between economic value and market cap, and very often that's really kind of the key to revaluing a company like this. And it's certainly, I mean, you guys are, really in such great areas today. I mean, you're in a bunch of hot button issues going forward in a bunch of your stuff. The new Generex stuff is terrific. The old Generex stuff is terrific. And there is, economic value. And it gets turned on a dime when there's anything positive to say in the actual product. And one of the things that I really rely on pretty heavily personally is when I have a CEO who comes on and talks about what they're doing and but they're not converting it into this is a stock play kind of business. I mean, I think that you, Joe, and the company are definitely more in this is what we can do. And by the way, we're public, not, we have a stock and it's a quarter and, we think it's worth a half or it's worth 3/4, whatever it is. So the promotion, and I use that term very carefully, the promotion of what the company is doing in the space that it operates and not really being as concerned on a day-by-day basis to, in a very negative way, promote the stock really kind of separates you from a lot of your competitors.
Guys, Dennis Marlowe is with you on the phone. Dennis, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I'm a little hoarse today.
Boy, you better speak up because your phone level is low. We can barely hear you.
Well, I better hang up then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. You're not only hoarse, but you're on a bad phone line. But we'll get you next week, Dennis. Thanks. All right. Go ahead, guys. The question I have is, Joe, about the Malaysia thing. How long are those trials over there for COVID?
Well, We're doing the trials here in the U.S. Originally, we were contemplating doing them in Malaysia for the Malaysian people, since we partnered with Bintai Kindon. But we decided that we'll do the trials here.
Okay.
That partnership calls for the trials to be done here to get FDA approval. So we'll do the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 here, which will be good for the Malaysian Ministry of Health to get approval once we're ready. So that's good because we'll be able to use that data since Bintai is paying for all the trials. We'll be able to use the data here for Malaysia as well as all the other countries that they've licensed, which is most of their region, as well as they have an option for Australia and New Zealand, which we're hoping to close that within the next week, since they're eager to close that and they've exercised their option already.
Yeah, it's my opinion, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, Joe. Some of my investing over the years relative to anything in biotech or medical, I've always had kind of an ideal situation versus what else I see. And the ideal situation is the setup of a strategic partnership, because little companies like this, and I'm sure it's partially what you're talking about the stock being down. The stock gets down because the company needs cash and doesn't have a product for sale at that moment in time. And so one of the things that I always looked at for any little biotech was, number one, are they in trials? And number two, do they have a strategic partner that has any money? And so, now that you've gone through the negative stuff of raising money and not having product for sale, and now that you have a strategic partner in Malaysia to help with the financial side of it, really separates you from the rest of the pack that, everybody and their brother wants to do one of two things in this market. The first is they want to either have an electric vehicle or electric charging station, or they want to have a vaccine for COVID-19. So, I see a lot of that kind of, for lack of a better way of putting it, crap all over. I mean, I know I've said it before, but it's, like 1998, 1999, where everybody and their brother, had a public company, even if it only held, 3 coin-operated car washes in it. But, they added .com to the end of their name, and all of a sudden, the stock was 400% higher for a nanosecond, and of course it came back down. But I think that the setup for Generex is almost, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's a $3 or $4 stock hiding on NASDAQ at 26 cents because...
the OTC, yeah.
Yeah, because, the funny thing is, and I've had this discussion with a bunch of people, most people don't understand that with all of the buybacks and all of the mergers that the big exchanges, NASDAQ Maine and Amex New York and New York, the number of companies that are listed there has dramatically dropped. And when I say dramatically, I'm talking about 50%. I see you shaking your head.
That's shocking. Really?
That's a lot.
It's true. There used to be about 8,000 listed companies. Now there are 4,000 listed companies, and probably 20% of those are ETFs. An ETF, an exchange traded fund that is an amalgamation. It's kind of like a tracking stock for groups, for sectors. There's a big biotech sector one, IBB. There's a big, the biggest one is gold, GLD. But XRT is retail. XLE is energy. XLK is high tech. So 20% of those are amalgamations. They're not even companies. When you get to the area that Joe is in, it's one of the few areas that has not seen that kind of decline in the number of stocks out there. So that's good in general, but it's not great for Generex because it's one of many until it really separates itself from the group. And I think, based on what Joe's been talking to us about and based on the areas that they're in, that recognition is, I don't want to say it's right around the corner, but my attitude as a shareholder is it's right around the corner. And that's why I'm comfortable sitting, even if the stock, has declined in the recent past.
Well, we believe that we're going to be able to build considerable value with the spin out of our immunotherapy company, cancer immunotherapy, and our infectious disease platform, which is where our COVID vaccine assets sit. So we're spinning that out to NASDAQ, that division, that subsidiary. We've already applied for the NASDAQ listing for that company. Company is already public. Its Form 10 was effective about 4 months ago. So we are in the process of listing that on the NASDAQ now. I mean, Generex does, obviously everybody's been affected by COVID. But Generex does have two other companies that it owns that, sells its products. One, Ola Region, the hard to close wounds. It's called Excelgen, the product. We just got the federal contract from the VA healthcare system. So that includes all 185 of their hospitals, as well as their satellites that now can purchase with an open purchase order from the federal government that we've received. They can purchase our products that work beautifully in 17 approved FDA treatment areas.
And there are lots of people who don't understand that there is an epidemic of obesity here in the U.S. in general. And one of the biggest problems is that people become diabetic. Yeah. And one of the biggest issues with diabetes is your circulation not being what it should be, and wounds that just don't heal in real time. So
our product works phenomenally well for diabetic wound foot, foot ulcers, as well as tunnel wounds. So the product
that's a lot more prevalent than people realize.
Yeah, I mean it's approved for that by the FDA, and we see success after success in closing those hard to close wounds with Excelgen, our product. So we're hoping once the VA system starts opening up, quarter by quarter by quarter under the plan. Now that we had that federal award, and we got that award during COVID at the end of March, we believe we'll have substantial sales coming in from the VA system, as well as our other entities that sell screws, plates, biological products, as well as kits, toe kits, ankle kits. So, we're primed to really build out our enterprise, which we've acquired all the different assets needed to do that. And we're starting in Arizona with the build out, and hopefully we'll start seeing some real revenues even after the adjustment after what COVID has brought us to bear.
Joe, how difficult was it getting into the VA, in the VA system?
Oh, it's very difficult to get in the VA. The way we started out was we went to each individual VA hospital. They have their VAC committees that you have to go through. You have to present the product to that VAC committee, as well as give them samples where they can test the product, do a mini trial with it. You have to give away the free product for them to utilize. They test it, and then they report back to the committee. And it's typically about a 6-month process for each individual VA hospital. Once you're approved, then from that VAC committee, then you're able to start selling the product to that one hospital. So we did that with about 11 individual hospitals in the VA system, and then we were awarded the overall federal grant and open purchase order for all of them. So it is a time-consuming process, but once you get through it, hopefully we'll start realizing the benefit of having the whole system now as our client. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, Greg, if you recall, over the years, we had, I can't remember that guy's name. He was such a pain in the ass. The one with that I kept on saying, why are you not doing business with the VA? Why are you not doing business with FEMA? He had that non-electric pump for Repromed, I think was the name of it. Andy Sealfon, I think.
Yes, I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had a little company up in Chester, New York, and they have a bunch of appliances, Joe, that don't need power or have self-contained power. And they were things like for infusing medicines, and for having like a vacuum pump to address cleaning of wounds and stuff. And the stock was always, 75 cents, $1, $1.25, back to 80 cents. And this guy was a real problem because he micromanaged the company. But every time I said to him, this is a phenomenal product. Why are you not selling it to FEMA? Because it seemed like a marriage made in heaven. And I introduced him to a guy who has, I don't know if you're aware of this, Joe, and I'm sure you are not, Greg, but the government, the federal government, has to buy 33.33% of everything that it buys from advantaged selling companies. An advantaged selling company is a company that is woman-owned, disabled vets, veterans, etc. And so he introduced them and finally got it through. But you had to deal with EPA, you had to deal with FDA, and there was just a monstrous amount of stuff. And once Andy Sealfon got thrown out, Greg, once Andy Sealfon's board of directors got tired of listening to him whine about micromanage his company, they brought in a new CEO, and I think I sold some of the stock at $10.50 or $11, because what they did was they did the necessary work, and they got all of those approvals, and they started selling to the government and those government agencies, and it was just a home run. But you really do have to jump through hoops to get done.
Well,
it's time consuming. It is not inexpensive. Even if you have the people on staff to do it, it is still not inexpensive. But once you get it, the upside is just tremendous. It's a government contract, and they tend to operate on it on a very reliable basis, in that they want to have, stock held. They want to have stock in storage so that, they never run out. And especially with FEMA, where, what is this, the 10th storm of the season to hit the U.S.? So, they want to be prepared. So, hopefully Joe will get into that kind of a situation too.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be great for you, Joe. You know, it's because you've got so many diversified products.
Yeah, we do.
That'd be phenomenal.
And that's part of now the commercialization process, is to find those opportunities where they present itself, and then to capitalize on those opportunities with what we believe in our different product categories to be quite good products. So, it's getting back to all the region and Excelgen. We have the 17 approvals in 17 different applicational areas, but what we're noticing now is a lot of the doctors or surgeons are using this. For instance, there was a patient that was scheduled for amputation for the knee down, and the lower limb of the leg was totally not vascular, totally, 2 weeks was going to be amputated. So the doctor decided to give our product a shot, and he filled up the leg with Excelgen, and the leg came back. It got vascular. The circulation came back to it, and he didn't need the amputation. So there are other pathways that we're going into for this product. The product works wonderfully, and it's just as good as anything out there, if not better. So we're pretty excited about that product, and we believe that once the VA system is fully back up, operational, and doing all the things that it used to do prior to COVID, we believe that we'll be a front runner for heart to close wounds for the VA system.
What about some battle wounds, maybe minor battle wounds? Could something like that help?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is the more traumatic type of wounds. Doctors are now using the product, and it's working. So, we have 17 approved areas such as tunnel wounds, diabetic wound foot, ulcers, compression sores, venous veins, Mohs surgery. But what product is being used for some of the more traumatic wounds, and it's working beautifully. And we're getting a lot of anecdotal case studies from doctors utilizing it for things outside of those approval areas, and it seems to be working very, very well.
Boy, that's phenomenal. That's absolutely amazing.
We're going to keep having Joe on until the public starts to figure out what this little company is.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a great story, and it's it's not like you're selling $20,000 Birka bags. I mean, you're doing something that has a real impact on people. And as I said, the obesity and diabetes side of what's going on in the general population definitely supports it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think Joe's going to help me go public with my windmill investment for PG&E to keep the power on out there.
Windmills, huh?
It's funny that you even use that term, Greg, because do you know who Harold Hamm is?
No.
His last name is Hamm. He is the biggest independent oil guy. If you recall, not very long ago, he had up until the time that Jeff Bezos went through his divorce, Harold Hamm's divorce was the biggest in history. I think his wife got around $10 billion. But he was on this morning.
Is she available at all?
Yeah, right. He was on this morning talking about how negative Biden would be for energy, because he will expand, and the word that he used was all those big windmill farms, and and continue to further regulate oil and energy in favor of these subsidized programs from the government. So it's just funny that you even mentioned windmills, because that's the term he used.
Well, Florida Power and Light has a major investment in, I think they call it Next Energy is the name of the company, but in the windmill farms between Los Angeles and Palm Springs. That's all Florida Power and Light stuff.
Yeah. It's funny because when I moved to San Francisco from Florida, as I was going through the Altamont Pass, which is east of San Francisco and Oakland, you go through the mountains, and there was, and this has got to be 30 years ago, there was a gigantic windmill farm, because that area has always high. It's the same area that is fanning the fires. But yeah, there's that. And, it's just kind of an interesting area, but we digress.
Yes, very much so, yes.
Yeah.
I just learned about energy.
Yes. Not much, but a little, right?
Yeah. Well, and, I'm going to say it again because I can, and that is that the biggest problem with Generex is that there aren't enough people seeing it. And so I know that Joe has taken steps to remedy that. And Joe, did you hire a new firm, a new IR firm?
We have hired a new IR firm that hopefully will be able to take care of our existing shareholders with getting out information and communication properly, as well as getting more eyeballs on us and more visibility. So,
and the head of that firm is not unknown.
No, he's pretty well known.
He's on Fox Business, I think.
Yeah, he did a research piece on us, and I'll tell you, we love the way he articulated our immunotherapy platform assets. So we talked to him, and I didn't know that he owned an IR firm, so he's now spearheading our IR and public relations effort. So
only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So I was going to have Joe on for 10 minutes this morning just to give us an update on the Malaysia stuff. And here we are at 11:50, and we've gone through the whole story again. And believe me, I'm more than happy to do it.
Well, it's a good story, man. It really is a good story.
Oh, it's a great story. It's a great story. And, it's, if you look back at the past and you see these conglomerates that turned into sort of, I'll use the term as it came about in the year 1999, he's really got an incubator for a diverse number of issues, all related. And, I think, what's old is new and what's new is old. And the fact is that nothing ever changes on Wall Street. And frankly, when you do the kind of things that Generex is doing, eventually, you hit on a couple of them. And, everybody who says, oh, yeah, I own that stock. I thought I was a genius selling it at $1.25. Now it's $9. So, that's not I'm not soliciting anything there, but I will say that is, in fact, the way that these things happen. Repromed, as I said, 50 cents, 75 cents, 80 cents, then all of a sudden, it's down 40% and it's still trading at $7. So, the visibility, the story, the timeliness, it all adds up. And I really like it.
Joe, will you still talk to us when you're up with Apple and those folks?
Yes, I definitely will, and I appreciate the invite.
All right, guys.
Good
Thanks
news.
Again, Joe. Really
Thank you so much, guys.
And
Great
as I
talking to you
said the
guys.
last time you were on, we'll have Joe back with any kind of updates that we need.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
All
My
right.
pleasure.
And, of course, just a little advisory there that this will be seen on our WPSL TV page as well on YouTube. And feel free to download and share it. So, Joe, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right. You have a good one.
And Greg, I think that next week we'll see about getting Dennis on, because I'd really like to have a discussion about futures and what they can do for you, and the fact that, whatever it is, futures are products. Mallinckrodt, MNK, was one of the biggest drug distributors in the world. Was located in San Francisco, I believe. And the stock went from 133 to 75 cents before they filed bankruptcy. But that's always an issue. In futures and commodities, that doesn't happen. These are things. Cotton is not going out of style, nor are silver or gold or soybeans, or treasury bills or currencies. So I think that people really would be very well served taking a look at this non-correlated series of assets that they can invest in with, moderate risk. But Dennis is just one of the best traders that I've ever seen. And so, I think that really pays. Again, if you want to see my work, GreatWizeOz.com with Z's, GreatWize.com. Let me start again.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
GreatWizeOz, GreatWizeOz.com. You can sign up for a free trial there. I publish a daily note Monday through Thursday. We have the weekly letter coming out on Sunday night. I do a pre-opening and closing comment on YouTube that gets carried on WPSL's Facebook page, and I am happy to share and give people a look at my work as a trial. I'll be waiting to see.
We're actually, your reports are up on our WPSL.com website as well. And so, folks can take a look at it twice a day, as a matter of fact. The opening and the closing. Yeah, it's very cool.
Before the open and after the close.
That's it. Are there any real surprises now going on in the market? It just seems so chaotic.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at a lot of things. I'm surprised that yesterday, where the NASDAQ was up just short of 200 and just short of 300, and it was pretty much all centered in those top 8 or 9 stocks, and that just seems to happen day after day after day. Frankly, I think people need to understand that the market is not the economy, and that the economy still has to deal with COVID, regardless of what the market is doing. And the numbers from around the world are horrendous, some of them bigger than it was earlier this year, especially in places like France and Italy and Spain. I mean, they're talking about lockdowns again, and the same thing in Great Britain. So, it's really tough out there, and people really have to be aware that this market is, I think, a little overpriced. It's priced for perfection, and as everybody knows, perfection is really fleeting, and change of sentiment is pretty dramatic. I think, by the way, that the reason that the market has been up so much of late, the last week and a half, is based on the fact that it looks like Mr. Biden can be a winner, and a winner by a substantial margin, which in presidential elections could be 5 points. And that the problem that people saw with the transfer of power with President Trump not willing to say, the transition will be free and clear unless, if it's close. So now that it looks like it's not going to be as close, I think that the market is, kind of jumping on board that is no longer a big negative issue.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the old market. And it seems like there are some companies that just keep on winning. I mean, Apple's one of them. But what was very interesting, kind of a shock to me, was the big story out of Disney was that there will be less focus on the amusement side and more focus on streaming. Which
that should not be a surprise to you, Greg. Look at the size of their content in storage.
Yep, that's right.
They have the content, and frankly, there are other people who deliver through streaming who want to rent that content.
That's right.
So not only are they in that business, they have it's like saying, Boeing still has a backlog of 4,800 planes and they only deliver 15 of them a month or 20 of them a month. How long is that backlog good for? And here we go with Disney with the vault.
Well, all right, Charles. The Great Wize Oz continues next week. Have a good week, my friend.
Take it easy.
Charles Moskowitz, GreatWizeOz.com. Check him out. Of course, check out those reports on WPSL.com. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie.